Harrison Ford and this lame journalist who gives him a loaded question and then forces him to answer, knowing that how this journalist interprets the word that he uses is going to be different from the rest of the public. In this case, he asks Harrison Ford, would Indiana Jones jump in line to punch Nazis in the current year? And then he points out, because there's just a Nazi on every street corner these days.
He said, I asked Harrison Ford how ultimate Nazi puncher Indiana Jones would feel about the debate over punching Nazis in real life today. Quote, Harrison Ford said, he'd push him out of the way to get in the first punch. As well he should.
And as we know, guys, you and I know that when these people talk about...
We've got one from
Fresh Meat 99 says, I'm not saying that first word. I'm sorry. Won't let me send actual username in the super chat. Look for my next post. Okay.
Okay.
It's hard for me to do this. Okay. I'm going to write that down. So keep going.
All right. Anyway, obviously Harrison Ford is like ancient now, so he's not plugged in.
He looks tired. Let's watch the video.
Okay,
let's watch the video. I think
he's having a hard time getting his words out at this point.
As people know, like when you watch these, like when they do these press blitzes, like they're doing a bunch of them all at once. So very likely he's done a bunch of these interviews and he's old and tired because Harrison Ford is old. Like you can't blame him. So here we go.
In terms of real life resonance, Indiana Jones has taken on this elevated symbolic significance in recent years because we've actually seen, bizarrely, proliferation of actual real life Nazis parading around. And some of them are getting punched.
It's proliferation.
So they're just everywhere.
Would the ultimate Nazi puncher, Indiana Jones, would he support these people doing the punching?
He'd push them out of the way to get in the first punch. As well he should.
Yeah.
Also, why is his audio
that was
so
a
bad?
Black and white world.
Yeah, Yahoo, step it up.
Presented itself to the world. I mean, it's.
You can see the gears turning.
It's incalculable that this vision of evil not be confronted.
In terms of
he doesn't say anything about commies, so I'm going to assume that he just magically forgot to ask that question. I'm sure as a journalist, he was going to mention both sides of the political spectrum when he was advocating for violence.
Does Harrison Ford know who Richard Spencer is? I wonder.
I don't think Harrison Ford knows.
He's really clued into this debate.
Who he is.
But that video of Richard Spencer
question.
getting punched when he has like the Pepe pin on his lapel.
Yeah.
Honestly, punch cringe people. I don't care if they're Nazis
punch anyone. Don't punch anyone. We're not advocating for violence.
Kidding.
That was an extremely leading question, and it's extremely annoying because you and I understand that when these people say Nazi, they mean anyone to the left of Antifa. They don't want to see it.
Who, by the way, can't
to the right of Antifa.
Throw a punch for their lives because they're a bunch of scrawny academics.
Yeah.
And they merely fantasize about real transgression. Even if you look at all of these videos of Antifa and, so-called Nazis fighting in the streets, these are clearly people that just are men used to go to war. This is like some simulation of actual conflict, but they're not really hurting each other. They're just yelling and shoving each other around. They should probably go to a mosh pit instead if they wanted to feel danger.
That's what they would have done back in the day.
Yeah, they probably just would have gone to a mosh pit back in the day instead of ruining the streets of Portland. And
of course, as we know, Harrison Ford, as Indiana Jones, has in fact punched Nazis and commies in the movies. It's just funny to me because you just know that guy was never going to mention the opposite. Yes! When Harrison Ford, crisis parties, that's the real question. We wake him up.
So Indiana Jones punched commies?
Yeah. Look, it's...
Thank you, by the way.
It's just hilarious because they're just not willing to admit that they want people to be violent. I totally believe that what this reporter is saying is hey, CNN, hire me. I need a job. Hire me. I don't want to talk about the news. I don't want to talk about movies. I want to talk about politics because that's what they want.
He's going to take who was the one that got booted from CNN recently? It's Anderson Cooper or something.
Did he?
No, it was some other person.
No, it wasn't. Who was the guy? No, their CEO got kicked out recently.
Really?
Yeah, they got rid of the CEO.
Okay, but before the CEO, one of their hosts got
Well, what's his
fired.
name is gone. The Lamone, Donna Lamone is gone.
Lamone.
That's what people call him. Donna Lamone. It's Don Lemon. He's gone.
Yeah, he
But
could take Don Lemon's place.
this is what Geeky Sparkles, she says, as long as we're clear, he said actual Nazi, not what the media would spin, because the modern definition seems to be anyone who doesn't like my show, ship, doesn't agree with me, or voted Republican, which is not usually the same thing as an actual Nazi. This is backed up by the fact that once you go down through the comments, it's really funny here. The very first response says, a little golden book, everyone I don't like is Hitler. And it goes through that. And then there's somebody, like, it takes less than a page for somebody to say, don't you mean Republicans? So it's like the journalist didn't have good intentions. I can't speak to what Harrison Ford's intentions are other than I don't think that he knows.
Well, it's funny that they asked him, like, how would Indiana Jones feel about punching Nazis? And he was like, I would punch Nazis.
Yeah. Like, it's just sad to me because the question's leading. It's done on purpose. It's bad journalism, and it's cleared for a soundbite, but it's made as an excuse for people to act violent when the real answer is, no matter who it is, you should not be committing any type of violent act on another person in the name of politics. It's not what you're supposed to be doing. And
Well, if you had a meaningful life, you wouldn't even
need to, because you wouldn't
want
care,
to.
right? And they're pushing back on this stuff, and they're like, it's a little bit of push every so often on the Overton window, right? Oh, it's okay when we do it as long as they push it little by little, little by little, little by little. And it's very frustrating because this is how it becomes part of the public consciousness. Oh, it's money. It's funny. See, it's a meme. There's a video of it. It's so funny when we talk about punching other people, not pointing out the fact that how you define that term is useless now because they call everyone a Nazi.
Okay, when the video, like back in 2017, when this was an actual topic of debate, when the video of Richard Spencer getting punched came out, I did find it funny, not because I think that it's cool to punch your political adversaries, but because of like the meaninglessness and absurdity of it all, and how everyone in that situation looks pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, I was laughing at both of them.
They all kind of look very, very sad. Like, don't you have anything more meaningful in your life to go and do?
They don't.
Right? Like, it makes me sad, too, because I think about that for a lot of things. Like, a lot of the people that I see that are heavily involved... Oh, we got a $20 one from Deuce Boogaloo.
He said, if y'all like acting talks for cringe... Wait, what?
Acting talks.
Acting talks for a cringe of the day. Have you seen Succession talk yet? It's been a massive trend since season 4 started. There are a bunch of them, but the best is Taylor Grayson.
No, I haven't seen that. You'll have to send it my way.
But I haven't watched Succession, or I've watched like a couple of episodes of it, so I don't know if I would get the inside jokes.
Yeah. Most of the stuff that I watch is like YouTube shorts. It's all like Breaking Bad. I have no idea how it started getting sent to me, considering I haven't watched Breaking Bad in years. But I get like all of these like, it's like it's a scene from Breaking Bad, but they add them. It's got the music. It's got what's it called, the Andrew Tate music.
Yeah, the Sigma Male
It's got
Grindset
somehow it's
soundtrack.
Like what does that have to do with Jesse Pinkman? I'm not exactly sure, but I guess kind of.
Well, the whole point of shows like Succession is that all of the characters are bad and you don't sympathize with any of them, which is too close to reality at this point, which is like on the topic that we're talking about, everyone is just looks like a clown and looks like a bad actor these days. So when I'm watching a TV show, I want there to be good guys and bad guys.
This is also another strike in the book for this movie.
Clear moral delineations.
This is also another strike in the book for this movie where after the horrible line from Phoebe Waller-Bridge about capitalism in the trailer, which just made me roll my eyes so much.
What was the line?
The beginning, it was like, they steal from them, I steal from you, you steal from... Like, basically, it's a bunch of people steal, and she says, that's capitalism, which is not what capitalism is.
And then that, plus the discourse about, like, communism and Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yep.
Like, this is supposed to be the most mindless entertainment available to us today.
Yep.
And you're still browbeating me with your politics in it.
And then they had another line about capitalism in Transformers. And I'm just like, dude, nobody in the 90s talked like that. No dude in Brooklyn in the 90s who just got his friend to give him a cable stealing black box was talking about this. And if he was, I don't buy that this writer knew it. This writer wrote that line because it's a Hollywood writer in the year 2023, and they've got their specific words they have to push. And that's just one of those words, is they have to talk about bringing down capitalism.
Was there anything else like that in Transformers? Or was it just in the...
It was, look, okay.
The one line.
The big problem I had with the movie is, okay, there's a jab at the medical at medicine. There's a jab at American healthcare because his brother's got sickle cell and then they're behind on their payments and they're like, sorry, we can't treat you. It's been like they haven't paid their bill in 3 months. So there's definitely a jab at American healthcare there. All the people that he interacts with are awful to him, which makes no sense to me. In a movie where they're talking about humanity is good, and Optimus Prime's talking about, like we have to save humanity and work with the humans, but all the humans that this main character interacts with are just awful people. There's a cynicism to Hollywood now that comes with this along the same lines of when they discuss things like capitalism that is very, very annoying. It's very, very annoying, and it proves that they don't have anything to talk about. They have their buzzwords, and that's it. It's not interesting.
Well, the writers aren't able to get outside of themselves
Yeah.
into a story, especially one set in the 90s.
Yep.
Doesn't reflect the social climate back
Well,
then at
that was
all.
my big problem. It's like you could have another thing before we get to that one is like look, they used a bunch of music from the 90s, which was really interesting because it's like a bunch of great rap songs that were all popular in the 90s, right? But here's the thing. Not all those songs came out at the same time in the 90s. They came out through multiple years. So it feels like a weird amalgamation of the time period. It would have been cooler for them to set a date. Like this movie takes place on this date, maybe they did, and then only use music from that year rather than just the most notable Wu-Tang song.
The
most
farther
notable...
away we get from the 90s, the more you're going to see of that,
know,
the less living memory we have of it.
Yeah. Yeah, $20 one there from I Am What I Am.
I'm making up a lot of different kinds of homemade pickles. How can I send some to y'all?
I don't think we
You
have a P.O. box anymore,
Shouldn't. We don't eat food that's sent here.
Nothing that gets sent was ever stuff that we couldn't ingest because nobody's taken that risk. It just
I mean, it could have been sent by someone who thinks you should punch Nazis
yeah,
or poison them.
Yeah, what if that was
And if you think that anyone who works at Timcast is a Nazi, well...
Rhaegar Targaryen says, sad to see Transformers went woke. I wouldn't say that the whole movie is that. Like I said, to be fair, they got that stuff out of the way early on. It's like the writer's like, I got to get my commentary in, and they got it out of the way earlier, and you don't see a lot of it later on. Also, the main girl, she has a boss who's just a dick and takes credit for everything. So they're both oppressed by the man in this movie. But yeah. So.
What does Harrison Ford mean when he says that was a black and white world? This evil presented itself to the world. It's incalculable that this vision of evil not be confronted.
I have no. I'm assuming when he says it was a black and white
know
world.
What he's saying?
I think he's referring back to when the initial Indiana Jones was made. The black and white, the world was seen in a realm of more black and white. Though oddly enough, I would say nowadays they push for more of the world to be seen that way. Your enemy is your enemy, right? They don't want you to see the world in shades of gray. They don't want to see the people you disagree with as having any redeeming qualities. They want everybody to be at each other's throats all the time. And that's very easy to do when you're making movies about Indiana Jones, which is a fantasy. In all respects, it's a fantasy. It's not real. Very easy to do that when that's going on.
I think that this interviewer will be disappointed to know that Nazis don't exist anymore because they're all dead.
Yep.
And that was an era of history that is over.
Also, they talk about it like it wasn't a political party. It was a political party. Yeah. That's not what it is now. That's also not how they define it now.
Harrison Ford followed this up saying, to see a threat of it in 1969, to know that Werner von Braun was a Nazi and worked for America on the space program after all we knew about his history and who he was associated with. I mean, these are shades of gray in a world we thought was black and white. It just seems like he's indicting America.
Yeah.
In that statement.
Yep.
But because sentiments like this are so popular, we don't have strongman actors like Harrison Ford anymore with hair on their arms.
Nope. We have Timothy Chalamet. We have the Timothy Chalamets of the world that are, to be fair, he's a good actor, but he's not.
When did Harrison Ford become critical of America?
I think somebody asked him once, like there was somebody pointed out in one of these chats, they said, where was it? If it's true that he's saying that's a virtue, doesn't that mean he's calling himself a P word? Because last I checked, he ain't testing his hands on anybody who isn't getting paid to it. Somebody also asked him once, like, was he identified as a Democrat? So I don't know, man. It's very silly. The whole thing is very silly. And I think the biggest fault here is the reporter who just gave him a leading question that he knows he's not going to be able to give a right answer to. Mm-hmm. And it's a certain type of world where they are in this delusion. And I do believe this is true. A lot of these people, they don't realize that this isn't real. Like they've been led by Twitter and by MSNBC and CNN to believe that there is an alt-right Yahtzee around every corner, and that the world is falling apart. And a lot of times I find that what you see on the internet isn't the same as what's going on in the real world. How often do you encounter these things in the real world?
These replies are just
sending
so delusional. They're the scream that I scrummed.
The scream that I scrummed.
They say, Harrison Ford reminds us that the evil of fascism must be confronted. Important point, especially now that extreme right-wing authoritarianism is rearing its ugly head again.
They never point out when that, like how that's happening. Have you ever noticed that? Like they never point out like how that's happening. I guess their point would be
like, what
planet
do you live on?
They don't live in the same world as you and I, my friend. So,
but to be fair, I think Harrison Ford is Jewish himself. So
yes, he is.
He would probably feel this way anyway.
Or no, like that was somebody said point out like they said your mom is Jewish or your dad and your dad was a Catholic or something like that. They're like, how do you identify? He goes, I identify as a Democrat or something like that. Yeah, somebody pointed that out in one of the comments here. I wish I'd saved that one.
He said that?
Yeah, it was an old thing, but
is he religious?
I don't think so.
Weird.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
His religion is being a Democrat.
What if he was actually talking about Ukraine and he's like going to take on the Azov battalion like right now? Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.